Greetings. My name is Summer Greenlees, and I'm recording this short video to introduce myself to you and to explain my background, my training, my education, and my services that I'm offering here. So this is my private yoga therapy studio here in Austin. I also work with students online, virtually, from anywhere as well. My focus is private yoga therapy. And my background is as a massage therapist and as a yoga instructor for almost 30 years now. I became a licensed massage therapist in 1998, and I became a certified yoga instructor after a 2-year one-on-one apprenticeship with my teacher in 1997. So at the foundation of my training, I found yoga when I was pregnant with my first child. And when I discovered my teacher and the path of yoga, I was pregnant with my first son, and my teacher instructed us to go within and to get into contact with the light that was emanating from within us and the light of our babies, and to experience both of our lights shining inside these bodies, inside my body. And at that moment was when I knew that this was my path, and from that day forward, for the next couple of years, I apprenticed with my teacher, and we lived nearby, so I went to every class and helped her at home with her children, and we had a very close relationship during that time. So I'm very fortunate and lucky and grateful that I had such an in-depth, extensive training in prenatal, postnatal, and hatha yoga here in Austin, Texas. So after my apprenticeship with Shannon, my teacher, I went to massage therapy school and I became a licensed massage therapist. The reason I did this was to learn more about the body, to learn more about health, and to deepen my service to our students and my students. What I learned in massage therapy school very much affirmed my understanding of yoga. So learning about the body, learning about anatomy and physiology and healing techniques really pointed back like a flashing arrow to yoga and helped me really understand why yoga can be so therapeutic and so helpful. After massage therapy school, I continued my studies with myofascial release, advanced massage therapy techniques, neuromuscular therapy, body work for the childbearing year, shiatsu, acupressure, and ashiatsu, or deep feet bar therapy. I also have 15 years experience as a Watsu practitioner. Watsu is aquatic body work that's done in body temperature water. And the applications that I use in my private yoga therapy work do draw from elements of all of that background and all of that experience. And it's very supportive of the work that I do in my private yoga therapy work. Another aspect of my background, my education, training, and experience that contributes to my yoga therapy is my 12 years as a doula. I supported moms and families as they brought new babies into the world as their doula, and I utilized the tools from massage therapy and from yoga to support them in this journey. I am very grateful that I've had the experience of working so closely and so intimately with hundreds of different families from various backgrounds and cultures, and I've had the privilege of learning all different ways that different people learn and different ways to teach people embodiment skills that support them in lowering their stress, lowering their pain, and being in a place of deep connection and bonding with each other through this transformative journey that maternity and bringing a child into the world is. So my training, my education, my experience, and my background includes massage therapy with several advanced modalities, the yoga, and the Watsu practitioner and the doula experience and training. And another aspect of my yoga training is developmental movement repatterning that I learned in advanced yoga studies with Donna Farhi in 2006. And I've continued my studies with Donna Farhi for about 20 years now, working from her work, and I've done more of her trainings, and I've served as a senior assistant to her when teaching in the US. And I have a deep appreciation for developmental movement repatterning in a hatha yoga practice. Developmental movement repatterning is a wonderful way to access the most original, most natural, easeful ways that our bodies move and breathe. So when someone is learning yoga, or when someone is relearning yoga based on their current needs, the journey of developmental movement repatterning is such a useful, helpful journey to help them contact within themselves ways of moving, ways of breathing that are easeful, organic, holistic, and supportive. As a body worker, I very much appreciate that how we move in everyday life affects how our bodies feel. I've worked with so many clients who come in with different aches and pains, which are a result of how they sit at their desk or how they do repetitive movements throughout the day. So I have a deep appreciation and excitement for developmental movement repatterning as a way to relearn how we move, to dismantle movement patterns that harm us. For example, sitting with poor posture again and again and again over time can create pain and tension in the body. Another example is how we do our workouts, how we practice yoga, how we walk, how we do physical exercise can create over time patterns of strain, possibly injury, or we might overwork, or we might compromise something with how we're moving. And so the art and the study of how we move is very fascinating to me, and I very much appreciate how we move affects how our bodies feel. As a body worker, I know that if I can help my clients to change how they move so that they move in ways that are more stable and easeful for them, more natural, organic, holistic ways of moving in everyday life, I know that this will reduce their tension and their pain and their discomfort in their body by far, way more effectively than receiving a massage. So I have a deep appreciation for the benefit of moving well, breathing well in integrative and optimally aligned ways. So working with me with private yoga therapy is a great way to dismantle ways of moving that aren't serving you, and to repattern how you move, how you breathe, how you relate to yourself. And as we know, yoga is a way of life. It's a way of living, and it's a transformative path. Yoga is an eightfold path that involves how we relate to ourselves, how we think, how we relate to other people, how we know ourselves. And it is ultimately an aspirational path that if we live in the way that yoga offers us in every aspect of our lives, then we're living in a way that reflects that we understand this unity that we are, that all is one, living in a way that embodies our understanding that everything is connected, and that this unity that we are all a part of. So this can be a transformative journey when we begin to become more connected with ourselves, when we return to ways of being that are more natural and more easeful. And my Yoga Renewal series is a series of classes that take the student through each of the developmental movement patterns within a yoga practice. So within our yoga practice, within our Hatha yoga practice, which is the aspect of yoga that involves our physical bodies, within our Hatha yoga practice, we are practicing developmental movement repatterning so that we're moving in ways that don't create injury, that prevent injury, that help with postural rehabilitation, that help us to move and breathe with ease and to relate to ourselves with a deeply connected sense of self-compassion, self-understanding, and just a very holistic way of relating to ourselves and moving and breathing in our yoga practice and in our everyday life. So in my private yoga therapy work, the heart of my work, as I mentioned, is my Yoga Renewal series, which is a series of classes where we move through the developmental movement patterns. And this is a perfect journey and experience for someone who is a complete yoga beginner and they would like to establish a yoga practice that's appropriate for them, for their bodies, for their needs. And it's also a perfect journey for someone who wants to go deep, someone who wants to bring into their lives a supportive daily practice, a supportive self-care, personal yoga practice. Perhaps someone is going through a life change. Maybe they are beginning a family, or maybe they're having an empty nest experience. Perhaps someone has been a yoga practitioner or a yoga instructor, and they are aware that it's time to practice in a different way, a time to do things differently. We all have those moments of time in our lives where we get to reinvent ourselves. We get to decide that it's time to move differently, breathe differently, relate to ourselves differently. Maybe we need to change our practice and restructure it. Perhaps we've had an injury and we're starting all over again. Working with my Yoga Renewal series is the perfect application for someone who is on a journey of renewal, self-discovery, and wanting to create or recreate their own personal yoga practice. So that's a little bit about my background, my training, my experience, and what I'm offering here with my private yoga therapy. I have 12 years experience as a doula supporting families with the childbearing years. And I am not a doula today, but I still consider myself to be a doula because I am accompanying and supporting you on your path of transformation. Although it's not a path of becoming a mother, although I definitely love to work with prenatal and postnatal moms, I also work with other people, male and female, of all ages and all life stages and all physical abilities. But within that, what I'm working with is I consider myself to be your doula on your journey of transformation. As you recreate yourself, as you move into a new life chapter, I am assisting you in this transformational journey by introducing you to the holistic lifestyle practice of yoga, which is very transformational. And I'm working with specifically the tools of developmental movement repatterning within a yoga practice. And this yoga practice is one that is just right for you. So We all have different bodies, and we all have different needs, different backgrounds, different anatomies, different past injuries, different strengths, different abilities, and each of our yoga practices can be customized just for us. So if you're interested in cultivating a yoga practice that's just right for you with where you're at today, it's my pleasure to serve as your doula during this transformative process of up-leveling yourself, of transformation wherever you're at in your life, where you're bringing in a strong, loving, compassionate, personal self-care yoga practice. So that's a little bit about my intention with my work and my background. And I'd like to explain a little bit about how Watsu is a complement to my private yoga therapy work. So with my Watsu work, Watsu is aquatic body work, and it's done in a therapy pool, which is body temperature. Part of the developmental movement repatterning that I was talking about, and the developmental movement repatterning that we explore in the yoga classes and the yoga series, this has to do with the time when we were forming in our mother's womb, which is a fluid environment. We're in warm body temperature water when our bodies are forming in the womb. Our first movement patterns that we work with in my yoga therapy are having to do with this stage of our development where we were forming in a fluid pattern as a fluid body before we had bones in a fluid environment. So when I work with my students to discover these fluid patterns, we often pretend that we're in water, imagine we're moving in water, and we try our best to get in touch with ourselves as fluid bodies. Spending time in a therapy pool that is body temperature with me for aquatic somatic work and Watsu work is the ideal way to deeply awaken this embodied experience of our fluid patterns that our bodies formed with in the womb. It makes it much easier to experience our organs. Our organs are a big aspect of our fluid body, and awareness of our organs and our soft inner body is a big emphasis in the developmental movement repatterning and in the yoga therapy work that I do. So spending time with me in a Watsu session is not a separate thing that's disconnected from my work as a yoga therapist. It is a complementary modality that deepens our repatterning work on land with yoga therapy. So once we have the experience of awakening the awareness of our fluid body, our fluid patterns from within in warm body temperature water, then when we're moving on land, that embodied awareness stays awake. It stays with us. We get to wake up an additional layer of awareness of our wholeness that's always been there. We were just a little bit disconnected from it before. So once we have the opportunity to awaken that, we get to move with greater support. Our spine has more support, our movement has more support, because our fluid body, our fluid patterns came before we had bones. So these are the organic support for our bones and our muscles. It's a very deeply embodied way of moving holistically from within. So I explain that to let you know that as a yoga therapist, I have this amazing tool at my fingertips of working in a therapy pool and bringing my yoga students to individual Watsu sessions where we get to explore our fluid patterns in a way that makes it much easier to learn. So I wanted to include that because it is a big part of my work. So in addition to that, my body work is also available, and it can be very supportive in this journey of yoga renewal. Having a deep therapeutic massage can help to awaken our body awareness further, and can help to reduce tension in the body and have a deeply healing, relaxing, integrative, and therapeutic experience, which can deepen your body awareness and help support your yoga practice. We can discover in the body work key aspects, key areas, key zones in your body that are affected by how you're moving. And that deeper awareness can be brought with you into the yoga therapy work so that there's more inner intelligence that's elicited and awakened, which serves your journey in the yoga therapy. So that's what I wanted to say. That's what I wanted to share, a little bit about my background and all the things that are available beneath the surface as I'm working as a yoga therapist. So as I mentioned, the heart of my work in my yoga therapy practice is a series of classes that I call Yoga Renewal. And in that series of classes, we go through the developmental movement repatterning, and how we move in yoga really serves to influence how we move in everyday life, so that we're moving with ease, we're deeply connected with ourselves in a compassionate, self-aware way. It helps us to deepen our self-care. Our personalized yoga practice helps us to deepen our self-care. And the more deeply we care for ourselves, the more deeply we can care for each other. And the more we can all care for ourselves and care for each other, the better we can care for this world that we live in, for our communities at large, and I believe the better service we can be for the whole, for everyone, so that we take the whole world with us on this journey of transformation to living in a way that reflects that we understand the complete unity that we're all a part of. So thank you so much for watching and listening, and I look forward to meeting you in person here or in online classes. Thank you so much.